You are listening to WSOU. This is Nick, and I am here with Dawson Scholz of The Ongoing Concept. What's going on, Dawson?
Good, Nick. Just a morning, kind of afternoon-ish time in Idaho for me. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, a lot of stuff has been going on with you guys. You definitely have, been, in the press a lot with a lot of stuff you have going on. You guys just released your sophomore album not too long ago, Handmade, and personally, I think it's one of the most interesting stories behind an album that I've ever heard of. The fact that it's not a concept record necessarily, that the album is a concept, but the concept of the entire project is just kind of something you don't really see that many people do. So where exactly did you guys come up with the idea of Handmade and actually going about making your own instruments, self-producing, and, doing the music videos and all that yourself? Where did that come from exactly?
It's just kind of always been something that we've done throughout the years. I just feel like it's kind of in our, at least the three of us brothers, it's kind of in our blood to do everything ourselves and build things. I don't know. I think my parents are really into just instead of going out and buying something, they could be like, we can fix this ourselves, or we could make this ourselves and save some money or whatever. And that mentality, I think it's kind of rubbed off on us. And so it's just been so ingrained in us and everything that we just like to do it ourselves because we're capable of doing it ourselves. And if we aren't capable at the time, we know that we can take enough time and learn it and get good at some sort of, task that we could at some point be able to do it ourselves. So I don't know. We just don't really see the point in paying people to do something that we could also do if we tried hard enough.
Oh, okay. And so obviously that made the process a lot longer because before you could even start recording, you kind of had to build your instruments. So how long a process was that to start from basically literally the ground up?
I would say it was like a 6 to 8 month process.
Oh, okay.
And that's that's starting from the early demoing to the research step, which, was honestly before we even did anything. It was just hours and hours of YouTube videos or reading tons of books and blogs and forums about stuff. So if you were to start there, which was back in late September of 2014.
Okay.
And we didn't finish the album till May, which is crazy. We literally, I sent the masters to the label, May, 15th. Wow. And our album came out June 20th. So, between that and the album, it was only, a month, which is pretty fast.
Yeah.
We didn't even finish till almost the middle of May, and we started in September. So that's, pretty long time. And when we started building our gear, it was difficult because it was very hard to balance writing and building.
Right.
And it literally doubled, if not tripled, the time it would take to do a normal album because, we would spend a day writing all day, but then we would be like, well, we didn't do anything with the drums or the guitars, and we would build those. And so we'd spend several days writing, demoing, whatever, and we spent several days building. And it seemed like it would be easy, because when you go into anything, you always assume that it's going to go better than you plan.
Exactly.
And that's kind of how the whole process was. It was just we just have to push back deadlines, farther back because it's just every step of the way we ran into some crazy obstacle that we had to overcome.
Right.
The microwave was a good example because we had no idea that it would take 150, almost 200 hours to microwave every single piece of wood.
Right.
Basically because it takes an hour to microwave each piece of wood, and there's 100 of them or something.
Yeah.
And during that time, we're not microwaving for an entire hour. It's 6 minutes here, you flip it, 6 minutes again. and we start getting down to like the weight that it needs to be, you start doing like 30-second increments. But like you're still wasting time because you got to open up the thing, flip it around, so you're wasting.
Wow.
So it's just very, very time consuming. You got to sit there the whole time because you don't want to like leave it and it starts on fire and then your house burns down or something.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful. So it's just little obstacles like that where we didn't really put it into our time frame of like, oh, we got to dedicate 2 to 3 weeks to literally just microwave wood before we can even continue,
Yeah.
So it was really annoying. And then on top of that, we were trying to write. And when I write, I have a hard time just getting to the headspace instantly. So, I might write for an entire day and not use any of it. And it's just like a day lost.
Yeah.
So it was just tough, really tough.
Now, did building the instruments have an effect on your writing process at all and kind of put you in a different headspace because of all of the time and energy you were putting into making the instruments? Or was that just kind of another piece of the puzzle to the entire project and wasn't necessarily a big influence on the writing style?
Kind of. I think the way it influenced me the most was I had to like start thinking about how to really create something like, and it still sounds really produced, like, but I wanted to keep it really raw and organic.
Right.
So I wanted to like really approach everything without faking. What's the point of building a drum set for 6 months or 4 months and then you resample the entire kit with other samples? Like, what's the point of that?
Right.
Kind of defeats the whole purpose of building the gear that you're going to be recording.
Mm-hmm.
So I really wanted to approach it in the way that, like, I would actually make the drum sound as real as possible and make that sound better, like using like a lot of like orchestral or like a lot of percussion type stuff alongside to kind of like make it more sound like a big band or like raw type record. So I approached it in that way. Like, not all the songs really turned out that way all the time. You really have to, there's a fine line between like raw and just not sounding good. So I think honestly the hardest part was just like trying to not destroy everything that we created as soon as we start recording.
Exactly.
Just kind of defeated the purpose. So
And the album definitely, you can definitely see you guys put a lot into it. I'm a huge fan. I really like the different directions that it goes. And I thought that was another interesting thing as well, is how unique everything is, like especially with your previous album before this, you guys do all kinds of stuff that not a lot of bands would necessarily do with the kind of instruments and little things here and there you throw in. And it's really amazing how everything is so unique and you wouldn't think it works, but somehow everything sounds, like that's what it was supposed to be. And how do you go about like, hey, maybe let's throw something like this in here and somehow it'll work?
I guess we just never really look at ourselves as having any boundaries. Like, and I always make this always makes me sound very egotistical and pretentious when I say it, but I feel like a lot of bands put themselves in this box where they can't like explore other areas.
Right.
And then a lot of them I see, they'll like let's say they're in like a pop punk band or something, like they can't explore anything but the pop punk genre. So like then they start a side project where they're like a hardcore band.
Right.
Or like they start a band that's like hip hop or something. Like I almost feel like bands are so like put in these boxes, and it could honestly just be from like the fan base or whatever, and how they approach their music. But I feel like with us, we've never felt like the ongoing concept is like our just like a straight metalcore band or a straight rock band. I feel like we can be anything we want. We love tons of different types of music, and this question's hard because I feel like when I say that we can do anything, it makes me sound like I'm literally so good at what I do that I can just become a pop artist or something if I wanted. Like, it's not bad. It's just like we're never afraid to try something new. And I feel like we've brought that vibe to our music for a while now, that I think our fans have kind of accepted it a long time ago.
Right.
And we've, so it's a lot easier for us to go and do something really random maybe opposed to some bands that like started out strictly as like super generic metalcore band, and then all of a sudden they like want to branch out and be like alternative rock or something. Like it just doesn't work with their fans that well because they're so used to like a one sound that they've been for a long time. And I feel like we've progressed, like for how young of a band we are, we've progressed a lot more, a lot quicker than other bands have. So I think it works for us well.
Right. Now, the album has gone, really, really well so far. I've read so many great reviews. I actually was in a bookstore I was in Barnes & Noble, and I saw they had Metal Hammer on the magazine shelves, and they had like a little, header on the cover for the ongoing concept review. And
that's cool.
I picked up this month's, and they have like the CD sampler in there, and Unwanted was on there. So I thought it was really cool that you guys are really, getting a lot of good, feedback from this album.
So it's awesome because we put so much work into it. So it's just like nothing sucks more than, doing that, and then it just kind of like falls to the wayside. And that was the one thing too, is like I knew that the concept would be super awesome and people would enjoy it, but I was like, that's only going to last as long and it's only as good as our songs actually are.
Exactly.
The gimmick, which it kind of is a gimmick in a way, it's not a publicity stunt per se, but it's definitely, we didn't just do it to like do it. We wanted something that would help, be kind of a shock factor. So, that type of gimmick, building your instruments for a record, that only lasts so long because any type of gimmick, whether it's the way you like a theme of your album or whatever, that part doesn't last nearly as long as the actual music does. So I knew that I had to really work on making the songs just as awesome as the concept behind it. So it's really cool to see that my songs have translated well since it's been released.
And I mean, now you guys are starting to get on some really awesome tours. You guys are on the big Norma Jean tour that's coming up.
Yeah, which is great because I feel like with Saloon, that cycle was, we did a lot of grinding because no one really knew who we were, and I kind of feel like Handmade kind of opened the door for a lot of different things. And that Norma Jean tour is literally like, I think, a great place for us. Like we fit very well, and I've wanted to do tours with bands like that for a super long time because I know that we as a band fit really well with that type of music. So.
And that's even a very diverse bill too. It's Norma Jean, Sleepwave, 68, you guys. It's like a lot of interesting kind of Everyone has a different.
I love that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I get so burnt out on going to a show and it's just four of the same exact genre type bands, and it's just like I'm always wanting to see like super cool lineups of just genres that are not even really close together, but they're all kind of mingling because it just kind of like brings an actual show.
Exactly.
It's not like you go to a circus and you see like acrobat thing the whole entire time. There's like 50 different things going on, and they're all different, and that's what keeps your attention the whole time is that uniqueness of each separate thing. And I feel like each band is unique if they're different enough that you change pace, throughout the night. So,
So speaking of, you guys are getting on these awesome tours like with Norma Jean and everything. I've seen, quite a lot of footage online of, your guys' live performances and stuff, and you guys definitely have a very energetic, I mean, that's not even a good word to use because it's more than that. You guys have like a really insane, live performance. And what kind of pushes you guys to, do what you guys do?
I think it just stems from the same thing that I was talking about earlier, is like we have a hard time like being entertained at shows if the band is just standing there. And we've always been drawn to bands that really have great stage presence, like The Chariot or Let Live or something along those lines. Even I was watching some old Under Oath videos of them back in the day, and they were super crazy too. I love that kind of stuff because it makes the show different every single time. And I feel like if you're going to be a band and keep being a band, Like, you can't be that band that a person goes and sees you one time in their entire life and they never come back and see you, because you just lost a fan technically.
Yeah.
Because you're making your money from the merch and stuff, and so I feel like if you're not interesting, no one's going to want to come back and see you. And so we just try to bring something different every time, and that just kind of leads into us doing interesting and crazy things. So
yeah. And that, because there's one video, it's my favorite one that I've seen of you guys, where you guys were playing like a skate park or something, and
yeah,
one of you guys, I forget who, because I wasn't really paying like attention to, because it kept cutting from like clip to clip, so I didn't know who it was. But one of you guys like jumped off of a half pipe and did like a flip. And I was like,
yeah, that was
just
Kyle.
That was ridiculous.
Funny story about that venue too. That's actually where the Chariot practices. Where they used to practice. Yeah, that was at the 7 venue, and it was too small of a show for us to play like the stage.
Right.
But so the guy had us play like in this skate park area, and like where we play apparently is where the Chariot often, like throughout their career, have practiced in that room.
That's pretty cool.
So that was kind of weird and cool.
Now, like you mentioned Under Oath, actually, what's your whole thing on them coming back and everything? I mean, I'm assuming you're pretty pumped for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's really cool that we're touring with Sleepwave right now, because chances are, Sleepwave might not be as active next year as they are this year, and so it's just really cool to be a part of this Norma Jean tour with that kind of stuff kind of in the background. I'm not saying that anything would happen between us, but it's still just really cool, because all of those guys are really big like inspirations for our band. So touring with all of these very influential bands, and on top of that, Under Us coming back, we get to tour with Sleepwave for an entire almost 2 months. It's just kind of a little daunting, kind of crazy and nerve-wracking in a way. So, but the fact that they're coming back is super cool. I don't know what exactly they're going to do, but they're such an influential band. I think it's cool that they've kind of brought it all back, because I think everyone kind of never wants them to break up in the first place.
Exactly, right. And I think that'll just about wrap it up. Is there anything else you want to add?
Not really. Just make sure to come out to the Norma Jean tour. It's going to be probably one of the only times you'll ever see that many influential people and bands coming together on one bill. So it's going to be pretty cool. So make sure you get out there before the dates are sold out, because they're definitely selling out fast.
All right, cool. Well, thank you very much for your time, Dawson.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick.